And welcome back. I'm here in the studio with Chris McGilvray.
That is correct.
McGilvray of Six Finger Films is here in the house.
I know.
And I am very thankful for you coming up here, Chris.
Well, thank you so much for having me here, Nada. I'm super stoked.
Chris and I got to meet fortuitously for me. He gave a presentation at the Next Space...
Next Talks.
Next Talks.
Yes.
And he was talking about the language of film.
Yes, in particular the syntax of cinema.
That's correct.
Yeah,
syntax
totally.
of cinema, and it was
the structure of cinema, how all the pieces fit together, that kind of thing.
What they mean.
Yeah, totally.
Just the placement of, well, for instance, something like, let's say, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, where at the very beginning she's just talking and she goes up, she's singing the song, and there's a big wall, and she's looking to the right, which means you're looking to the future. And,
totally.
And that but then she's boxed in by another haystack, and so really she's got nowhere to go. And
she can't go backwards, that kind of thing.
Yeah, she's stuck in Kansas.
It's really, I'm extremely interested in what I consider to be the language of cinema, which is how one uses the cinematic art form to be able to communicate specifically through film, ways that you wouldn't be able to communicate through, say, photography or literature or theater, and, how you can do shot compositions, juxtaposition of images, the use of very, very specific sound effect elements and music, and tie all that stuff together to make this, extremely effective form of communication, which is unique to the medium that we are utilizing.
And that the story kind of demands the form.
Yes.
And so
definitely.
Some stories do very well, such as radio interviews.
Sure.
Where, it's nice, you just need to hear the voices.
Yeah, Prairie Home Companion, the whole thing has obviously been
audio.
Yeah.
And then there's some things that really need a picture, that need to show the image. And
I've always been interested by, a lot of people say that film has a really, really difficult time showing thought. They say that, literature tends to have this huge leg up on film in the thought process because, obviously you can read a sentence that is written in the first person and literally travels through the stream of consciousness of the character, but I don't really feel that way.
Well, it's interesting you say that, Chris, because Mick LaSalle of the movie critic out of San Francisco Chronicle, he felt that The Great Gatsby was a good movie. I think the little man is sitting up clapping. No, he's
not jumping out of his seat.
He's not jumping out of his seat.
He's clapping.
And the reason he's not jumping out of his seat is that I think Mick was talking about the problematic first-person talking headspace that you get in The Great Gatsby in the book. Yeah, and that Laz.
I think I actually saw that film this weekend, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I kind of want to see it.
I'm a huge Baz Luhrmann fan. I'm not gonna lie, and it's that kind of thing where you either like what Baz Luhrmann does or you don't like what he does. And I happen to really like it. It is a little tough with The Great Gatsby, because of your narrator Nick is just. He's a difficult character because he sits back and he watches everything, but he himself is not a, fascinating character that you can't take your eyes off of. It's all the other people that he encounters that you want to see. And so that becomes a very, very difficult filmic conceit because you're stuck with this guy the entire time who, himself is an observer. He is like a camera, but you're stuck seeing it through his perspective. And so that can definitely be an extremely difficult thing to deal with.
Well, according to Baz, now I haven't seen the movie yet, according to Mick LaSalle, the way Baz Luhrmann tries to fix that problem, that challenge, is that he has that Nick character talking in a flashback
he's
from
reminiscing.
He's in a debilitated state from alcohol.
He's in a sanitarium. He's recovering alcoholic.
And so that was the device.
And it does work. Actually, the funny thing for me, the part that's actually very difficult with The Great Gatsby is that because it's a Baz Luhrmann film, it's so opulent. It's so decadent that, like, the first 45 minutes are like this insane sensory experience. All the parties, all the images, the sounds, all the music, everything is coming at you the entire time, and you are like 100% transported. But then, after 45 minutes, you basically settle into, more of a chamber piece. It's a character study. And your senses are like so overwhelmed. It's very, very difficult to like then go into something that's a lot quieter. I mean, it's kind of like, asking you to go to like a, say a Slayer concert.
Right.
And then Slayer opens for like Bob Dylan and the Folk Days. And it's like, that's just a really difficult transition to make, man.
Right.
It's really hard. And so even though I liked the second half of it, I found it difficult pacing-wise. I was like, I felt like it was a little slow. It's like, dude, I need to go back to my Fellini-esque, beautiful, camera work and insane Jay-Z music, and totally.
So, yeah. I'm one of those people. I love him and I hate him. I'm actually one of those people that you're saying not many people are like, because his editing is so fast, it overstimulates me.
It does.
And I want to see a big picture every once in a while. I want to see like a mid shot or a.
You see, that's the thing, is that you can't really have both. It's like he does his very kinetic, energetic style of filmmaking that's extremely detail oriented. Like, I always think, like, seriously, if I could be an extra in anybody's movies, it'd be Baz Luhrmann. Because, like, every single piece is so important to him. Every extra has such an important role to play. It'd be just so fun, You're never just, like, walking in the background, not paying any attention. But then it does become very difficult to slow it down, because if you slow it down, your brain has been so desensitized. It's like, if a commercial is really fast cut, or a, music video is really fast cut, it's very, very difficult to then slow it down and, get that more, slow resonating.
Well, it's much easier to go slow to fast.
It is.
Slow to climax. I mean, that's what we humans, having been told stories for the last millennium, tens of thousands of years.
Yeah.
Chris, we're going from Baz Luhrmann, who God knows what his budget was on that.
Dude, nobody wants to know. It's very expensive.
$100 million at least, 160 maybe.
Yeah, it's close to like 200.
Yeah, and are there any shooting rockets, cable cars flipping over? So we're talking,
it's about as epic as they come. It really is.
So, you have a film company, Six Finger Films.
I do.
And you're kind of on maybe the other side of the spectrum. You're doing low budget filmmaking.
Yeah. It's almost called no budget filmmaking.
Yeah, I know.
It's somewhere in between the low budget and the no budget. And
it's so low. People in LA,
it's so low. I just say it doesn't exist. It's just it makes it a lot easier to get people on board, because then you can just go off and say like, oh, but we're all artists and we do this because we love it and we're passionate, and everybody understands. Look, dude, at the end of the day, there's no money in this, so I better choose to do something I really, really like.
Right.
And
But you are making some money. You've got a commercial aspect to you, Six Finger Films, and that is maybe helping drive the art.
It is. I mean, it's kind of this new business model. I mean, I originally went to USC Film School right out of high school, and USC
one of the best
is one of the best. I would seriously say still
the
today,
best.
If you're looking to get into the established Hollywood, traditional style of filmmaking, really is the best place to go. I mean, I made great contacts through it, and I learned a lot, but it was actually a very, very difficult place to learn a lot about the art form. It's much more about the studio system. And I, realized pretty early on that I don't necessarily work in that compartmentalized way. I mean, it's very union based, and so literally, every single role has to, somebody has to fit into every single role.
It's a clog.
Whereas I decided to leave there and, moved up to San Francisco, and I got involved in making these, no budget films where you pretty much just wear every hat. I can do most aspects of film other than audio. I know that you talked with Brooke Bradford right before this about how difficult audio is, and that is the one thing I try not to ever really do. But we've really shortened down the number of people we have on our crew and really tried to make it as efficient as possible.
I'm here today with Chris McGilvray, who's talking about his film company, Six Fingered Films. Chris is also you're creating the program for
the Mini Fest.
The Mini Fest Destiny.
That's right.
That's happening this Friday at 5 o'clock at the Santa Cruz Museum of Art and History. That's May 17th. It's going to be rocking.
It is going to be
rocking. You got a
man.
lot of work to do.
I do.
It's got a deadline on Monday for a festival on Friday.
The deadline has keeps getting pushed further and further back. And Brooke calls me up and she's like, I got another film that's coming through, but the people are just finishing up. Like, can we push the deadline, a couple more hours, a couple more days? And it's like, okay, I guess so. But, I got a very, very busy week ahead of me, for sure. I hope I make it to the festival at the end. I'm probably going to be so tired.
You gotta make it.
Oh, I'll be there. Don't worry.
You gotta celebrate.
Yeah, totally. I gotta celebrate when the entire program is up there. It's
so tell me, what is it? You're going to look at everything, put it in order.
So
try to find some continuity to it. Curating.
I am curating to some extent, and as you imagine, with a festival like this, dude, it is all over the map. I mean, we have all different kinds of things. From there's a film that was made by a 10-year-old boy that's like an animated film, and then there's music videos, we have trailers, we have some old 8mm nudie films, I guess. Apparently that's what Brooke was telling us. That's Brooke's version. I don't know. That might be overselling.
It was 90 seconds from what I hear.
I may have cut it down a little bit, mostly because it was just so long. Dude. It was like 30 minutes, and it just was going to keep going and going and going. And I was like, okay, Brooke, it's cool. The vintage thing is cool for a little while, but we gotta cut this thing down and keep people
narrative, right?
Yeah, and
the lack of narrative.
I get to have I get to curate all this stuff, and we have all different kinds of content. The other fun thing is that because we did it in a very fun, kind of Santa Cruz casual version, people just sent me all different formats. I have, all different file formats. I have all different frame rates to deal with. I have all different sizes. Oh, dude,
you were supposed to get them on DVDs.
I know, but you can either shoot 24p or 30p.
That's right.
I'm gonna get super technical, but I'm gonna cut off my technical run here.
I think I'm 29p.
Basically, I have to somehow take this crazy technical smorgasbord and turn it into something that'll be edible.
Right, editable and then projectable.
Yeah, totally, editable and projectable.
Now, there's going to be 3 different venues or 3 different.
I think it's 2.
There's one outside.
There's one outside, which is kind of the art films. That's where a lot of the 8mm stuff is. It's much more abstract. And then there's the main theater is going to be playing a program that is, much more narrative driven. That's where the music videos, trailers. There's definitely some community-minded documentary pieces that are going to be showing up there as well.
And they're all under 5 minutes.
Yes, everything. That's the only restriction. You could literally put whatever you wanted on there. And I got to say, I think it is it's a very cool thing that Brooke came up with, because film is a very, very difficult, art form to do. It's also very, very expensive. And so, you get a lot of voices that are totally marginalized. You never get to hear, because, people get caught up in oh, well, I can't make film because I don't have enough money, or, I can't make this because the story doesn't really fit into, a traditional film festival, concept of what cinema is supposed to be. And she kind of, opened up the doors and was like, look, we'll take anything. We're just looking for voices from the community. We want to hear, what people have to say and how they see the world around here,
I can't wait. I'm going.
It's cool.
I'm going, folks.
Yeah,
it's May 17th, 5 o'clock, Santa Cruz Museum of Art and History. That's third Friday.
Third Friday.
Friday.
That'll be Thursday. Uh-oh.
I know. That'll be next.
Yeah, totally.
It'll be
me all the
pardon at the Ma every day.
Yeah, every day. Totally.
And so the fact that Brooke Bradford came up with this idea follows the revolution that has happened in filmmaking.
Sure.
That can be traced pretty easily to digital cameras, wouldn't you say? And the
ability
to capture it and connect it to your computer and edit it and not have to have a $200,000, $500,000 Avid editing suite. You don't have to pay, $60 a foot for processing film.
It depends on what.
And so something that was at one time completely out of 90% of the world populations of people's abilities to buy the camera, to pay for the processing, to pay for the editing, to go through this, has changed tremendously. And was it FileMaker Pro 1998? I don't know.
Final Cut Pro.
Final Cut Pro.
Yeah, totally.
And Final Cut Pro comes out. Apple comes out with their
nonlinear
and non-degenerating. So
yes, that's right.
So you're able to just use your.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be when you would cut on film or tape, literally it goes back to the term, cutting. And so, you would literally have your film and you would choose which frame you wanted, the shot to stop. And you had to physically get out your scissors and you cut the film. And then
or
you taped the
a razor, and then you taped it together.
Sure, you can use a razor. You use anything you can cut with, essentially. We're going to get the semantics.
Well, I actually, when I did my radio show in the 90s, I cut with...
Dude, I cut on 16 millimeter. My very first film was black and white reversal 16 millimeter. And I cut it on a Steenbeck, and, you had to literally, physically make a cut. And so when everything became digitized and, things like Avid and Final Cut Pro came out, it became nonlinear in the sense that, you could work on any portion of the film at any time and not have to worry about it. I could spend 3 days going off on the crazy director's cut and then decide at the end of those 3 days, wait a minute, I went way off the deep end here. I'm going to just go back to the project the way it was 3 days ago. Well, you couldn't do that with film. I mean, if you had physically cut the film, it was very, very difficult and time-consuming to go backwards to what you had been 3 days ago, whereas now with, digital technologies, of course you can do that. You can just, basically undo everything.
Undo.
Totally.
And so that allows for the experimentation.
Yep.
And back to the syntax, the experimenting of the filmic language.
Sure.
So that has changed in response, would you say,
Definitely.
to this revolutionary way of filmmaking, and that we're kind of, maybe we're adolescent kind of in our development of what to do with this technology. I remember
it's a very new medium, I mean, storytelling has been around pretty much since, humans have been around, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And, film's really only been around for, 120 years max,
Film and then video, six from 1960. You got the Sony Portapack or is it 1968? Really?
I think that's about right.
The Sony Portapack and the ability to start videotaping, and then the ability today where we can shoot like I am right now, take it home and pop it up on YouTube.
I mean, the big thing that actually inspired me as a filmmaker was when the Canon 5D Mark II came out, and that is a digital SLR. That's a digital single lens reflex. It's basically a still camera, and it's top of the line still camera that basically photographers for Vogue are using. But at the same time, they gave it a video capability, which basically then meant that all of a sudden, the filmmakers can start using the same glass, those lenses that all the top of the line still photographers are using, and you can use that now for filmmaking. And so, the lens was kind of the limiting factor up until that point. And
that adds for a whole cinematography of being able to do these...
I can do anything Baz Luhrmann can do other than,
depth of field,
hire hundreds and hundreds of
a rack
actors.
Shot.
Totally.
A rack shot being where it's in focus in the back and then it focuses to the front. And so all of these things that, again, were very cost prohibitive.
Oh, yeah.
Are now also getting into the hands of us
folks. $50,000 to $100,000 camera minimum. Now we're talking, a couple $1,000s. And you can literally get a tool that's about 90% as good as, the same stuff that they are shooting major motion pictures on. And so once you get that technology in the hands of everybody, it just, it totally democratizes the art form, which is really, really exciting. it literally means that, my phone can make a film right now if I wanted to. I have an iPhone in my pocket. I can shoot a movie.
And you know what? That iMovie app costs $5.
Totally.
And so not only can you, this I think is another revolution right here, is that you can capture, videotape, and broadcast on one piece of equipment.
Definitely. You used to have to send it between different houses. There was the dub house where you're laying tape to, and there's the place where it gets edited, and then there was this step between it being edited and then it has to get printed to film, and there were all of these different people. And the traditional studio system is still very compartmentalized like that. But one of the things that has been really nice about growing up as an independent filmmaker at this time is that it's not compartmentalized like that. I seriously, we do everything in-house on certain projects. There's a lot of projects where I, hire a couple of crew members to be able to help me shoot, certain aspects of it. But I can literally take it from all the way from preconception all the way to delivering you a finished product all by myself on my laptop.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's super cool.
Super cool.
Super cool.
Chris McGilvray, folks, telling it how it is. I love it. It's something near and dear to my heart. He is creating the program for the Mini Fest Destiny, a short film festival happening this Friday at 5 o'clock at the Santa Cruz Museum of Art and History. And he also has his own film company called Six Finger Films.
Yes.
And Chris has several projects that he's making. He's got Wild is the Night.
This is my feature film.
Your feature film that you're working on. There's a great trailer, and it's going to be up on artistonart.com.
That's Smoke and Mirrors.
Oh,
actually.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I know I got too many projects going on
you're
to be able to keep these things all lined up. No, there's a short film that I, I'm just about to finish. My partner, Scott Krinsky, he's still up in San Francisco, but we are going to just be finishing this thing probably next month. It's a really, really exciting project, and there's a trailer for that that's going to be posted. It's up on YouTube, and then it's also going to be on your website.
Yes, and along with the video of Chris McGilvray talking today and the podcast. You all, thanks for listening. I really, really, we are only what our audience is, and so thanks for staying tuned, and please keep staying tuned for Indie Babies Next. And Chris, thanks again.
Thank you so
I hope
much,
you can come back up and tell us more about your completed films.
That'd be awesome. I would love to.
Oh, excellent. And I want to thank Vanya Benavides for live tweeting as we speak today. And again, thanks a lot for listening, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you very much.